Hello and welcome to the Sands of Time review channel. It is your host Sammy Thunder, back at it once again with another episode of Watch Express, and who would have guessed it, I'm talking about Seiko today. I'm talking about Seiko because they have released quite a few watches in the last couple of weeks, and the one you're seeing right now is an example. So I'm going to go through those three watches, and I'm going to start off with this SPB295. Now this watch here is a enamel dial retrograde movement Seiko Presage watch. So what I mean by retrograde movement is that essentially we have a retrograde date and day function. So essentially what I mean by that is once it reaches a full cycle, it just resets. So once it reaches 31, the movement itself will flip it all the way back to the first to indicate a new month. And likewise with the day indicator. So that's kind of what I mean by retrograde watch. Seiko is no stranger to retrograde watches. They have done it in the past in enamel dial and urushi dial variants. So they're no stranger to this, and we're kind of getting a modern version of those for the international market, because Seiko had kept these retrograde movement watches for the Japan domestic market. So it wasn't really an international release, but obviously people knew about them and they obviously wanted them, so they'd purchase it from the JDM market. With all that out of the way, some of the basic specs of this watch. Firstly, it costs 3,000 Australian dollars. It's quite expensive compared to the previous iterations. This is probably double the price of what you would pay for pretty much the same watch, just in a different configuration. It features a green enamel dial. There have been reports that this is an urushi dial, but from the website itself they have stated that this is an enamel dial. It's a limited production of 2,000 pieces, and it's, in terms of dimensions, it's your typical Seiko Presage enamel dial case. So the Prestige line case where you have a nice brushing on the top, on the lugs, and then on the sides you have this extremely high polish that for me personally, it's very hard to differentiate how mirror polished this is compared to, let's say, Salaz polishing from Grand Seiko. But there is a difference that I've noticed, but it's just on, I'd say you really shouldn't be of concern. And it's 12.8 mils thick, and it features a dual curved sapphire crystal, 20 mils of lug width, so this is a strap monster, and it has a lug to lug of 47.8 mils. So yeah, it'll fit most wrists. It's the 48 lug to lug. But the star of the show really is this beautiful luscious green dial, and I don't think these images do it justice, so I'll move on to Monochrome's pics of these. So it's a green enamel dial, and some of the things I really love about this watch with enamel is that the cutouts for where you would insert handsets, when you cut the enamel dial for those specific parts and then go through the heating process, there is depreciation. There is a depreciation in the how do I say, the height. So it's kind of like a wormhole effect, and I love looking at that with an enamel dial. It's like an inky glossy, it's like an inky green color, and it just flows through. And that's something I just really appreciated with enamel dials. And you can see here they've added a nice touch of kind of rose gold, I believe, rose gold to the handsets, the stacks, and the points of concern here. And look, it's nice. It's great. And then you have stick indices. So this is something I just haven't seen as much. It's kind of new within the Presage series. The use of these stick indices, which is nice. So the star of the show really, it is the dial. It's great, and the fact that you have a retrograde day and date indicator, which is, it's cool. It's a fairly, let's say, busy dial, but I think the way they've done it here makes it seem a little bit less cluttered, which is something I appreciate. Obviously the strap, it's handmade leather. it's great. My experience with enamel dial Presages and their straps is just, I've always had a good experience with them. And it features the 6R24 move, so it's based off the 6R movement, and you just have that retrograde day and date functionality there, complications added to the watch. So I mean, apart from that, it's a great watch, but it is $3,000. It is quite expensive, and right now you can get the SJE087, which is a urushi dial. You know, it features the inky black urushi lacquer on the dial, and then you have this marquee gold, kind of like gold powder, which they apply on the handset and the power reserve indicator. So this thing here is also phenomenal, and something I appreciate a lot. And you can get this for 1580 Australian dollars. And if you know, to get the numbers correct, yes, 1580 plus the import tax, let's say into Australia, of 20%, add an extra 300 and something dollars, it kind of adds up to $1850. And you're pretty much getting the same watch, and in terms of, you know, finishing, it's the same thing. There's nothing really special in terms of mechanical movement. It's the exact same thing. So there's nothing really, you know, that you're missing out with getting either watch, but you are paying the extra grand or so for this green enamel. And the green enamel, don't get me wrong, is beautiful, but you know, there is a huge price hike on this watch, so it's something to note. You know, with modern Seiko going up market, it's time to start appreciating watches like this, which are great as well. So that's just some food for thought there. Apart from that, let's move on to the next watch. We have the SJE087. The SJE087 is a reissue or recreation of the King Seiko, and Seiko itself recently released the exact same watch, except, you know, it had stainless steel indices and handsets, not plated. So just to go through the differences between the watches, that this is the King Seiko release, has a silvery dial, and stainless steel handset and indices, and it's limited to 3,000 pieces. That was the initial release. This watch here is limited to 1,700 pieces, so it's close to half of, you know, the production pieces of the first. And I believe the stock images don't really do this watch any justice. They are both the exact same price. In terms of strap, it's the same kind of strap but different color. Case back is pretty much the same components really, and it features the 6L caliber, which is a much more premium caliber from Seiko brand, which has better tolerance for accuracy, precision, which is great. Much thinner, so 11.4 mils in thick. It's the exact same watch as this one here, SJE083. This is the SJE087. I think this is a little bit uninspiring for myself. I personally, you know, it's fine that they've done this, but, you know, making the limited edition was understandable, because this watch here was floating among authorized dealers and was selling at mass discount. Because the truth is, the 6L caliber of watches back in the day, 4 years ago, it was in watches priced at retail 3,000 or 3,500 Australian dollars, and now these watches retail at 5,200 Australian dollars. So it's a huge hike. So, and it's a huge number, 3,000 pieces for a $5,200 Seiko. So not everyone's going to spend the full retail price. Maybe the true collectors, they appreciate this watch, they're right on it. But, you know, there are people out there who wait, and, you know, this thing would easily sell, you know, at authorized dealers for $4,000, and pre-owned they were going for 3,500 Australian. I do think this would be one of my favorite reissues. I personally like this watch a lot. It's great. King Seiko name is nice. But yeah, they've released the exact same watch, less pieces. So I wonder how they distributed this watch. Is it just going to the Australian boutiques, or does it actually go to some authorized dealers? Because I can see this watch not getting enough attention and just sitting there, sitting there for a while, and then the authorized dealers like, yeah, we probably need to get rid of it, and it's sold at a mass discount, 30 to 35% off, hopefully. And that's when someone like myself would try and pick one up. But anyway, this watch is amazing, right? It's great. The original was amazing. Yeah, this here it has probably a different dial, and we can kind of identify the dial just going through the monochrome picks. And the gold indices, this is probably going to sparkle in person. It's great with the stainless steel Zaratsu polished case. I've seen this watch in person. The finishing is great on the watch and the indices and the dial itself. No dust particles, etc. It really is a great watch. I think this is more of a champagne-y dial than a silvery dial like the original SJE083. But we'll have to see in person. But if you are a fan of King Seiko, I think, and you want the higher end mechanical movement, this watch is probably a good choice for yourself. But yes, it is a bit it's on the pricier end of things, but it is also much more limited. But the thing is, they've released the exact same watch, pretty much. So yeah, it's kind of what they did with the 62 MAS. They've released 4 to 5 variants. It sort of becomes, saturated. It's not really a limited watch, even though they say it's a limited, it's a limited production. If you are a true collector, you want to acquire this watch and you want to enjoy it, and then maybe 10 plus years down the line, yes, this will be extremely limited. But for those people that are just, they want to collect a limited Seiko thinking they can profit or something, this is simply not the watch for you. But apart from that, this watch here is phenomenal. I really appreciate the level of finishing, especially the 12 o'clock indice. Kind of has that kind of hobnail texture on the on that indice, which is just so unique. But apart from that, Seiko also released another King Seiko, the SPB291. So this line of King Seiko features the bracelet, features an inferior mechanical movement, but also features a no date. It just doesn't have a no date, so less complicated than this watch here that features the date, and a much more compact size as well. This is a 37mm diameter watch, and this here is a purpley or degradé purple dial. So it starts off white, kind of a light purple, and then it becomes a nice kind of lavendery. I'd call this the lavender, the King Seiko lavender, personally. I personally haven't inspected the watch for dust and debris, but I assume that this, for the price and for the King Seiko name, it shouldn't have anything compared to, let's say, $1,000 to $2,000 Seikos that will have that. But I do think this watch is nice and beautiful, and this is kind of what it looks like in person. It kind of is pretty, it's beautiful, and I kind of appreciate the finishing. And you really need to pick this watch up in hand and appreciate the level of finishing and detail on the bracelet. It's a quite complex bracelet. You have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 link. It's like a 7 links of bracelet, and there's polishing on all the center links that you have there. It's like a beads of rice, but it's not. It's a unique King Seiko style of bracelet. The finishing on the handset and indices are phenomenal. Clean Seiko, King Seiko, and you have the automatic text that you see on the Grand Seiko as well. Personally, I don't really need to see it, but it's there. The star of the show really is the purple dial, and this is a special edition, so it's a boutique special edition. Fair enough. In Australia, all the King Seiko releases are boutique only or boutique exclusive, but it's not specified on the website. So what I understand from this is, if watches don't sell at the boutique, Seiko might actually give stock to authorized dealers for them to sell, and you can get a discount. But at the moment, you can't really get any discount on any King Seiko in Australia, because you have to purchase from the boutique. One benefit of purchasing from the boutique is you get a 5-year warranty opposed to a 3-year warranty. To me, it doesn't matter. This is Seiko. This is workhorse. If I get the Seiko, it's running within the spec. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I won't really need to, worry about servicing the watch in the next 3 years, because of the reliability Seiko offers. I think the dial is the beauty here, but there's so many variants of the King Seiko that you can look at as well. So this is priced at $2,900, but what you do get, I believe, is the strap as well as the bracelet, which is nice. Personally, it's a good touch because collectors really like these things, especially with straps. You get an original King Seiko strap and you get a brand new King Seiko buckle. Collectors love this, and maybe 20-30 years down the line, people will spend $100 on this buckle, and that's what people are doing now with the original King Seikos. I have a Seiko Lord Matic, and I really need a buckle for that watch, a Seiko branded buckle personally. So this has potential of becoming a very, a collector's rarity. It's great. You have a box sapphire crystal. It's just a beautiful watch. So that's it with the Watch Express for myself. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe the channel. If you find any of this information useful, help me out. I'm not one of those YouTube channels that, that's buying subscribers and everything. I genuinely appreciate it when someone's subscribing, and I'm doing it for you guys out there. And I'm trying to improve with every video I do. So step-by-step process, I'll get there. But thank you all for the support. And I will probably do a 500 subscriber giveaway. So please, like and subscribe, support. It means a lot. Thanks for watching. Bye.